Hey guys, Kevin Smart for Empire Season 2, Episode 2, Without a Country. And you know what, guys? I was obviously really looking forward to this episode, but I actually thought this episode was better than the season premiere. I didn't know if they would be able to do it, but they did. I thought this episode was a lot better than the season premiere. I really love the season premiere, but this felt more like an Empire episode than last week's episode did. And it honestly might be my favorite episode of Empire so far, honestly. I'm really loving what they're doing with Season 2 so far. And this episode really had everything I want in an Empire episode. It had the family drama in there. It had some really great music. It had actually some really good guest stars that weren't just there to be there. They actually had some good roles in this episode. And I thought overall this episode was great. There were some really shocking twists in this episode. And definitely you can see how they're focusing more on a story this season. Like, they're trying to focus more on a story, which I really love. And this episode also had so many amazing moments in it, and I'll get into it, but let's just get into it because it was an incredible episode, and I can't wait for next week's episode, especially after the ending, which was huge. Now, basically, this episode starts off right where the last episode left off, after Jamal kicked out, Cookie, Andre, Hakeem, Rhonda, etc., and basically security's escorting them out, and she says how they can actually start their own company. Which, honestly, yeah, that is a good idea, because, they are just as, they know what they're doing. They have they have what they need to do that. They have Hakeem, who can give them the music. They have Cookie, who can manage it. She can clearly manage something on her own. You have Andre and Rhonda fit in there somewhere. We don't know where, but they fit in there. And then you have Tiana as well, who you can tell the Cookie really wants to get on board to help them out as well, which we have not seen Tiana yet, but I'm assuming we're going to see her this season because she is a main character, and plus Cookie keeps talking about her a lot, so basically, Andre's saying that this is not going to work, and Cookie says that Hakeem can finish his album, and Andre says that Jamal won't give them the album, and Cookie says that Tiana is going with them, and Hakeem asks her to let him work albums, and Cookie doesn't want Anika to work with them. Which is understandable, even though it seems like she is trying to work with Anika, she obviously does not trust Anika. It makes sense why. And Hakeem likes, but, you can tell that Hakeem likes Anika. Of course, he slept with her, so he probably still has that he probably still has that fondness of her. And Anika is actually working with V, this girl V, the singer, and basically Cookie says they can call it anything they want, and Cookie talks to Andre, who says they need Anika, and Rhonda says this could work, and Hakeem just randomly decides to start a girl group. Okay, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, if they want to make a company, they have to have as many functional groups as possible, so I can understand why he wants to do this, and he wants to make it as big as Destiny's Child, and plus, if they want to do another company, they need to make it distinctly different from Empire, and what does Empire not have? A girl group, so I can totally understand why Hakeem wants to do that. So they meet at this studio, and Cookie reminds them that they started making music, and it's not a very good studio. No, it's very messy, it's very cluttered, and I like what Cookie says. She reminds them that they started making music in Carol's living room long before they had an empire, and she says whatever they call it, as long as, her mom has something to do with it, it will live up to its name, and I really like seeing that. It's kind of like started from the bottom. Now we hear, not trying to reference the Drake song, actually kind of am, but, I really like that message. So the owner of the studio says that Anika's already there recording with V, and Anika annoys V, who goes to walk out, and Cookie stops her and tells Boo Boo Kitty that she's taking over from here. I thought it was cool she called her Boo Boo Kitty again. That's always really funny. So, you can tell that V definitely takes a liking to Cookie and not really to Anika. And Lucious is then told by the clinic nurse that his authorization form is missing and he can't give him his meds for his illness. Because, he doesn't have ALS, but he does have that muscle disease. I don't remember what it was called. I think it was called like ALNS or something. And he suggests that Lucious call his lawyer to get it corrected. And Jamal is then performing at his place while Michael watches. And he does an interview after the reporters asked him how Jamal deals with his male and female fans are going crazy for him. I really like this scene because it kind of shows how, tabloids can be very manipulative. They can ask you questions that you really don't want to answer. And the questions they ask Jamal, you can tell he really does not want to answer. Like, for example, his female fans, does that get in the way of him and Michael? He doesn't want to answer these questions, but he has to because he's this celebrity. And the reporter talks about how adorable Michael is and what a good cook he is, and the reporter asks about a new album, and he says he's been busy, and then she asks about Lucious's trial, and he says he can't say too much about that and is working on music and making smart decisions, and he says it's hard on them and all, and Cookie then shows up and interrupts, and Jamal drags her into another room and says he's trying to do an interview, and Cookie reminds him that she set up the interview, and she says she wants to talk about Hakeem, who he calls a traitor. Obviously, he doesn't trust Hakeem right now, which again is understandable, and she says that Hakeem was hurt by their dad and asked him to give back his album, and, Jamal can understand that because, Lucious was completely against Jamal last season. He wanted nothing to do with him, and he asks why he do that, and Cookie says he won and got Empire, and all Hakeem has left is his music. And she says his dad is trying to make him like him, and Cookie smiles nice for the cameras, and then tells Jamal, and I thought that was pretty funny, the way she was just putting on an act. It really shows how manipulate, how celebrities can sort of fake happiness just so they can make it seem like their lives are happier than they are. And that's something I thought was really interesting here. And basically she tells Jamal that they're starting their own label, and Jamal, you can see, doesn't really want anything to do with it, but she's trying to convince him, and we see in the prison yard, the guys are talking, and this new crew asks Lucious to sing his new song. And as he's singing, we see Ludacris, who is now playing a prison guard, who I have to say was really intimidating, actually. I was surprised by, again, like Chris Rock last week, while Ludacris, is here, he did a good job for what he had, and I definitely really liked his character here. And he's playing this prison guard named McKnight, and basically Lucious says to stop rapping because he's coughing and his vision is going blurry. Obviously, he can't get his meds, so the things that, he normally wouldn't deal with, he's dealing with here. And McKnight walks over and asks if he's having troubles breathing, and he tells them party's over, gets the hell off the table, then calls them boys. And Lucious tells him to calm down and tells Big Country to calm down. And McKnight goes off on them, says everything is his, not theirs, and they better not forget it. And obviously, these guys in prison are pretty crazy. So Hakeem auditions women for the girls group. Many are awful, and they're not very good, obviously. And then we get introduced to Valentina, played by Becky G, who I have to say is very, very attractive in this episode. I don't know what the hell they did to her, but she was pretty hot. I have to say that. I don't usually have a thing for like Spanish girls, nothing against them, and just not usually my type. But she was pretty hot. I will definitely say that. And again, like McKnight, Valentina, I've really liked her character. Because she actually kills the audition, and you can tell right away she got the job. He says he's trying to keep it out at 3, and she says Instagram didn't do anything about a girl group, and says she's not being in a group. She goes off on him in Spanish, then translates to say she'll make it without him, and you can see how determined she is. She really wants to be in this group. She's serious about it, and the next audition is awful. It's completely awful, and Andre interrupts and asks what this mess is, and he tells the girl not to sing another word, then tells Hakeem he can't make decisions without them, and it's true, Hakeem should not be doing this on his own, but for whatever reason, Hakeem tells her to keep singing, and it's probably because he just wants to let all the girls get their chance and things like that. I understand that. So Andre tells Cookie that Hakeem needs to be in the studio, not messing with girl groups, and he says they will sync unless Hakeem is recording, and Lucious gets whooped at by McKnight, pretty nasty beating, I have to say, and says he's not interested in being up Lucious's ass, and he asks if the breathing's getting any better, and McKnight says he doesn't give a damn, and he makes them look bad, and he wishes he would drop dead, and he says his medication might turn up if he was more cooperative, and McKnight then walks away, and Lucious watches him go, and definitely there is definitely a struggle between McKnight and Lucious. I like how McKnight's trying to tell Lucious, look, this is not, you're not the king of this prison, which he kind of is at this point. Honestly, Lucious is kind of the king of the prison, and that's kind of what McKnight needs to understand, but that's just how McKnight is, I guess. So Cookie talks to Hakeem and says Tiana's recording tomorrow. Hakeem wants to focus on the girl group, and Andre says he's using the auditions like a speed date session, which he pretty much is. I mean, any girl that Hakeem sees, he pretty much falls in love with, and he uses it as like, it's like when you go on like a bad date, and you see like the montage in those movies about like bad dates. I very much agree with what Andre's saying there. And Anika shows up, Cookie goes off with her. Hakeem says he wanted one white girl, one black girl, and one Hispanic, called Rainbow Sensation, and obviously Cookie saying this is a horrible name, and I completely agree, that's a horrible idea, and Cookie asks if Lucious dropped him on his head, and Anika says the concept is good, but the name is bad, and I do agree with Anika that I like the idea of what he's trying to do, but the name is terrible. Him trying to get one white girl, one black girl, one Hispanic, kind of do something like that, that's something, that has not been done before, and I think that's really cool he wants to do that, but Again, the name is obviously not good at all. So Nika and Cookie go off on each other. Nika tells her good luck, walks out. You can tell they want nothing to do with each other. And Andre and Hakeem aren't happy about Cookie. And Jamal tells his dad he's thinking about giving Hakeem his album. And he says Hakeem should be at Empire and tells Jamal to make it happen. And Jamal asks what's the matter. And he says he's fine, is working on new music. And he talks about doing a Lucious Lyon joint from the prison. And Jamal says that would be epic. And basically, Lucious plans on recording a song in the prison. Now, yes, this would not happen in real life, but Empire is a show that you just kind of have to suspend your disbelief. And you know what? This show is good enough that I can suspend my disbelief. I don't have to question everything that happens because the show's very strong. The acting's very strong. The plot's very strong. And it makes sense for Lucious's character. Obviously, this is something that Lucious would do. He thinks he's, unstoppable, and it just goes with Lucious's character. So he says he needs some basic recording equipment, a laptop, mini twister, and a step up. And Thurston Rawlings is at the next table and hands them a card. And he's a lawyer. And he asks when was the last time they got a bail hearing. And Lucious asks if he can do better. Thurston comes to sit with them. And Jamal says the guy went to school in Guam and is in a cheap suit. And Thurston says withholding meds is one of prosecutors Roxanne's tactics. As we know that this girl Roxanne obviously knows that Lucious is not innocent and doesn't want to be innocent, and this might be the way to stop her. So Tiana's working on a new song. Hakeem shows up. Hakeem tells her she's on fire, and she asks if he has the song he owes her. And she says he's trying to be Diddy. Then he asks her to join her girl group, and Tiana says she won't be at the label if this is what they're doing. She just doesn't support it at all. And Cookie shows up and tells Hakeem to back off. Hakeem is startled by Jamal pulling up outside the studio. He tells Hakeem to get in, and he says he saw Dad, and he wants it back in Empire, and so does he. And Hakeem asks why now, and Jamal says it's time to move past what they did. And Hakeem asks if he'll take Andre and Cookie back too. And Jamal says one step at a time. And Jamal promises to do a big release from his album if he comes back. And Cookie sees him together. Jamal puts the windows up in her face and tells Hakeem, let's go. He clearly wants nothing to do with Cookie, which again is a slap in the face to her. But again, it just shows how he's getting manipulated by Lucious. And I really like seeing it. I know some people are thinking it's stupid, but it makes sense. I mean, just the way that Jamal has this power, he obviously is following Lucious's footsteps, and Lucious is basically manipulating him into thinking that, he's doing something right when it's really going to end up badly for him in the end. So Hakeem shares a bubble bath with Valentina. That was kind of fast, but Hakeem, that's nothing new. Hakeem is pretty much a womanizer. And she asks if he's not really doing the girl group, and he says he's going back to Empire. And she says she would do the girl group gig for Empire, and Jamal fixes drinks and offers one to Rhonda. And so we're not really sure if they're gonna do this girl group or not. It seems like he has an interest in Valentina. I do see some chemistry between them already in this episode. I saw some chemistry there, and I definitely feel that Hakeem has a future with her. But does he really want to be in a relationship, or is he just doing this to go back to for a reason to go back to Empire? Is that what he's trying to do here? We're not really sure. So Jamal fixes drinks and offers one to Rhonda, who says she's not drinking these days. And Jamal and Rhonda, I don't think have ever had a scene together. So this was really cool to actually see Jamal and Rhonda have a scene here. I mean, they might have had a scene here and there, but most of Rhonda's scenes are usually with Andre or just with the group as a whole. And I really like how they're utilizing Rhonda as a character more. Definitely. Now that she's a main character, they're using her a lot more. She's in a lot more scenes, and that's something they're doing very well. Which they're not doing very well with Portia and Becky. I have no idea where they're main characters. They should not be main characters. They don't contribute really anything to the show. And while I think they are fun characters, they don't need to be main characters. It's that simple. Tiana, I can understand, but Portia and Becky do not need to be main characters. So she says that she's nervous, then she says she's not supposed to be there, and she tells him she's scared for Andre and says he's miserable and Empire was everything to him. And Jamal asks why he's doing the label with Cookie, and Rhonda says Andre messed up, but she asks him to forgive him and says Andre wants to be back in Empire with the family, and says he gave his heart and life to the company. And Jamal says that he misses Andre, and he says he'd like to hand off a lot of stuff he's dealing with to Andre. And Andre probably could handle this stuff better, definitely. I will definitely agree that Jamal just isn't handling this very well because Andre just would probably handle it better. And Rhonda then tells him that she's pregnant, and Jamal is thrilled for them, and he says he's Uncle Jamal and agrees to talk to Lucious about Andre. And Rhonda says not to say anything to Andre, and he says he'll handle it, and basically that's what he plans on doing. So Lucious is in the clinic when a guard sets his meds on the counter and says it's from his lawyer Thurston, and later the guard tells Lucious that Thurston has a lot of friends in here, and he takes him to a room where they set up a mini recording store for him. And again, I know this wouldn't really happen, but I thought it was honestly really awesome. Just the song that they sang was really cool, and the guard said that he's logging them in. They have 65 minutes, so basically we see guys playing drums and keyboard. Mike and Bam Bam are helping too, and the song's called Snitch Ass Bitch, and I have to say, the song was pretty awesome. Terrence Howard really killed it, and I like how they're trying to expand the music more, like they're trying to give, more of a diverse music, which I definitely really like, because last season it was more of just rap and then Jamal singing, and now it's more of that, and I like that they're trying to give, especially Lucious, who didn't have a lot of music, like he did last year, but I don't really think Lucious ever had, like, a solo, really. He had songs here and there, but not something like this. And this is something that I'm definitely really liking. I think the song was really awesome, and honestly, I think one of the best songs that Empire's done so far. So, Guy says it's a Lucious Lyon hit, and then McKnight comes in and breaks up the session. He says to lock them up for the contraband, and Lucious says they're already locked up and snaps cups on him. And Lucious says they were just talking about his ass, and he pulls Lucious out in the hall. He puts Lucious in solitary, and McKnight says in there he's just another prisoner, and he could kill him now with no consequence. And that's true. I mean, Lucious needs to understand that while he is powerful, he's just another prisoner to him. That's all McKnight cares about. And Lucious says he knows people that know about his family, and McKnight says that's a new charge. And Lucious says people like McKnight and that bitch Ford make mistakes, and McKnight slams the metal window shut. McKnight is attacked in a parking lot. He fights back hard. They piss the whip and demand to know where the laptop is they took from Lucious. They deliver the laptop to Thurston and tell him they check to make sure the music is on it, and they want to make sure that this song gets out there, because obviously this song's really great and they want people to hear it. So I thought that was very smart, and again, not realistic, but it makes sense for this show. I always say that Empire has its own kind of logic, but that's fine because just the kind of show it is. So Cookie tells Hakeem she understands why he wants to go back to Empire, and Andre asks if he's going to take his rainbow abomination, and Hakeem says he's not working for Lucious or Jamal's punk ass, and basically Chicken shows them that Hakeem just leaked his album online. He leaked his album online even though they didn't want him to, and that very much, that's very interesting. I mean, celebrities do that nowadays, so he can do that. And Andre asks if he's stupid and says Empire's going to sue him, and Hakeem says he just cares that his music is out. He cares about the music. He wants people to hear it, and Andre says he's done, goes to walk out. Cookie chases him out, and she tells him he worries too much. This is the point where I realized this is probably my favorite episode of Empire, was this scene right here. Because Andre in this episode, I have to say, is probably becoming my favorite character. He has two standout scenes in this episode, and this was one of them. Because Andre says he's done. He goes to walk out. Cookie chases him out. She tells him he worries too much and says Jamal won't sue him. And Andre tells Cookie that she doesn't worry enough. And I kind of agree with Andre that she should worry more about some things that she's not. And he tells her this isn't working at this scrappy little setup, and he says his heart is not in this. He asks her to let him go. She begs him not to, says she needs him. He says over and over, let me go. He walks away, and he doesn't have a place here. It's kind of sad, but really Andre doesn't have a place here. Hakeem has something he's doing. Cookie is something that she's doing. Jamal is something he's doing, and Andre really doesn't. In fact, I don't even think at Empire, the only position he would be good at is the head of Empire. That's really it, is Jamal's position. And that's obviously the only thing that, Andre needs. He needs that position, or else he's probably going to go just as crazy as he did in Season 1. I wouldn't be surprised if that happened. If he starts, not taking his pills again and things like that, I could definitely expect that to happen. So the boss of Ghetto Ash shows Cookie a space she can use, and he uses the word Dynasty to describe some things that were stored there, and she likes the name Dynasty and asks him to clean it, and he says clean it herself, and you can tell right away that she's probably going to name it Dynasty, and she told him before that it didn't matter about the name, like the name that they had, she didn't care what the name was to Empire, she didn't care what it was, but I thought that was definitely very interesting. So Andre goes to see Lucious, and this scene I thought was incredible. I absolutely love this scene, and whoever plays Andre, I don't know the actor's name, but this scene I just thought was incredible. He says he messed up being part of Cookie's hostile takeover, and Lucious says it hurt him, and Andre says Empire is in his blood, and wants him to forgive him, and he asks if he's still going to church, and Andre says to pray to God to forgive him because he doesn't, and he goes to walk away, and I love what Andre says, he rejected Jamal for who he was, and Now he's running Empire. Hakeem slept with his fiance and he wants him back there. And Andre's really done nothing. Andre is the only one of the three that has done nothing wrong. And the only thing he's done wrong, of course, is kill, what's his name? Kill, I can't remember his name. You know what I'm talking about. He killed him by mistake. He killed that guy by mistake. I can't remember his name right now. What is his name? Give me a second, guys. What is his name? Let me check my phone. What is his name? I'm funky. Vernon, that's what I'm talking about. He killed Vernon. But of course, Lucious doesn't know that he killed Vernon, so to Lucious, he really did nothing wrong, and I do agree with Andre's point that he really has nothing against him, so why the hell is he upset with him? And he asks why he looks at him like he's a mutant, and Lucious says he doesn't hate him, and we see this flashback that Lucious has, and this I thought was definitely very interesting. Right now, it doesn't make a lot of sense, but basically, we see a young Lucious. He's with his mother, played by Kelly Rowland, which was pretty awesome, and she's singing Itsy Bitsy Spider to him, trying to calm him down or whatever. And then she kind of like blanks out. So it seemed his mother had some kind of mental problem. We also heard police sirens in the background. So there definitely is something happened with Lucius' childhood that caused him to be the way he is. And I know some people said the scene felt weird that it connected with that, but I think it's just trying to show why Lucius is the person he is overall. Like, I saw in the featurette for this season that they said we're gonna find out why Lucius is why he is, how he is, and I think this is one of the first clues right away is that Lucius probably didn't have the best childhood. You can already tell he really did not have the best childhood, and I'm interested in seeing really what's gonna happen there. So Andre's really distraught, even though Lucius says he doesn't hate him, he still walks away, and the least Lucius could have done was just hug the guy. Like, seriously, just hug him, just tell him it's gonna be okay, and again, I really feel it's because something happened to Lucius, and he just doesn't really have that compassion right now, which is interesting, definitely. So Hakeem goes to see Jamal, they jam together, and he sings a song about saying sorry, not cutting it, and Hakeem says he's glad he's singing again, and Jamal says he wrote the song for him. He says to come home to Empire, they can do more stuff together, and I've told you guys before, one of my favorite parts of the show is the bond between Hakeem and Jamal. It's just really great, and Hakeem says he's not coming back, and Jamal asks about his album, and Hakeem says he leaked it, and Jamal asks if that's how they're going to roll, and says Hakeem will never see a penny, and he'll sue him, and Hakeem says their new album is Lyon Dynasty, and says they'll crush Empire, and Jamal says he's corny and to get out, and he doesn't respect him at all. And even though, Jamal's putting forth that effort, Hakeem obviously wants nothing to do with him. He's not going to listen to him. And if he's not going to listen, obviously Jamal's not going to listen, which is understandable. So definitely things went from really good to really bad between Hakeem and Jamal. But again, I really am liking the divide between all three of the brothers. Something we saw in the first season, but definitely here there's a lot more of that. So Cookie cleans up the new space. When Hakeem shows up, he asks the two of them are their new kingdom. They're the only people at this point working in Lucious Dynasty, Lyon Dynasty, and she tells him to grab a broom and help. And they hear Lucius' new song he dropped from prison, and Cookie says that he can do anything. Because, Hakeem's obviously like, can he do this? But, Cookie's saying, he can do anything, and Cookie says that's a great song, and Hakeem says he's going to come at them hard, and she says that's why they have to get up and run before Lucius gets out, and the bail hearing, and basically they have to run before Lucius gets out, because obviously they want to beat him, they want to make good music, but that might not work out because the end of this episode, which I thought was awesome. I love the end of this episode. It was very, very shocking. Even though they showed in the promos that Lucius gets out of prison, I did not think it was going to be this episode. I really didn't. So the bail hearing is going down. There are protesters outside screaming to free Lucius, and Thurston shows up late. He says he has new evidence. He hands a copy to the judge and Ford, and it's the judge in S&M photos, and the judge says he will be released on bail for $1 million, and obviously he didn't see the photos, which I thought was definitely very interesting, that he didn't see them clearly. She did not see the photos, and basically Lucius is out on bail now. He is now out on bail. He's no longer in prison, and Roxanne is going to be pissed out of her mind. We see next week that Roxanne is going to do whatever she can to get Lucious back in prison because she knows that he's not innocent, even though they're making it seem like he is. But basically, they just manipulated the judge, which again really shows how Lucious can do anything. And I think that definitely is very interesting. But that's how the episode ends, and I thought that was an awesome ending. And what a great episode overall, guys. Seriously, this was a fantastic episode. I really loved everything that happened this episode. I'm really loving the power struggle between Hakeem, Andre, and Jamal. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens between these three specifically. The thing I really like about what's going on with them is that they all kind of just have different things. And while I think, they do want to support each other, they kind of just all have different things at this point. Jamal is running Empire. He really doesn't want to. He wants Andre to, but Andre at this point, I don't even think thinks he can, and it's really sad. But Andre, I think, is definitely becoming my favorite part of this show. I mean, he is the most vulnerable character on the show right now. He wants something really bad. He's not getting it. It's really sad that's going on. Hopefully Rhonda, I think Rhonda's probably going to be the one to persuade Lucious. Something has to persuade Lucious because obviously things are not good that Jamal is running Empire, and Andre will probably be the best person to run it. And I don't think we're going to really get anything with that, like Andre close to running it till probably the end of the season, or maybe the mid-season finale. I don't know. We'll have to see. That's going to be very interesting. Hakeem releasing this album with Cookie. Is Lyon Dynasty going to be successful? I don't really know. Now that Lucious is back, he'll probably do whatever he can to stop them. We know how Lucious is. He's going to try to stop them at all costs. He'll make sure this doesn't work out for them. And that's going to be very interesting to see what ends up happening with that. Is Hakeem going to do this girl group with Valentina? I see chemistry between them, like I said, but she only seems like she's interested if they do this girl group. It seems like for her, this is strictly business. He clearly wants to be with her, but it seems like she does like him, but it is strictly business. So I definitely feel that if he really does care about her, he needs to make this girl group, and we'll have to see how that really works out. It kind of seems like the girl group was kind of just a fake thing, just to see, just to see everyone's reactions. It's kind of what it seems like it was. Tiana, what's going to happen with Tiana? Because Tiana seems like she is in a very awkward position as well. She really has no say right now. Is Hakeem trying to convince her to come to Lyon Dynasty? Because she's not there yet, so we'll have to see if maybe she'll get there. That's going to be interesting to see what happens there. It looks like Roxanne next week is going to do whatever she can to make sure that Lucious, gets back in jail, and that's going to be interesting. It seems like Roxanne's going to be the biggest threat of this season, which I really like Roxanne as a character, because, she just wants justice to be done. She wants the right thing to happen, and obviously Lucious killed Bunky. I mean, there's no, did he or not. We know that he killed Bunky. We saw in the first episode of this entire show, he killed Bunky, and he should be brought to justice for it. But because of how powerful Lucious is, and how manipulative he is, he's gotten people to believe that he is innocent, and I think that just shows how powerful Lucious is. Definitely, he can really do anything. It sounds silly, but that really is how Lucious is. He is just that powerful that he can really do anything at this point. Is Jamal going to tell Andre about the plan that he has with Rhonda? I mean, obviously Rhonda told him not to, but that's going to be interesting to see what happens there. And I really, like I said, I'm loving the power struggle between everyone at this point. That's going to be very interesting to see what happens with this power struggle. Definitely, I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with that. Now that Lucious comes back to Empire, he's obviously going to want to take Empire back, and I really feel that he's probably not going to support Jamal as much. He's going to come back, he's going to run Empire, he's going to try to get Jamal out, and I wouldn't be surprised if Lucious is just like, you know what, who cares about what I said to you? He just kind of ignores Jamal. It's kind of back to how Season 1 was, because he obviously is not interested in Jamal succeeding. He wants to rule Empire for himself. We know Lucious is. And also the flashbacks. What happened in Lucious's childhood? Clearly there's something more going on, and I really like the way we're getting into more of, Lucious's childhood. That definitely is very interesting. I'm interested in seeing really what happened there, because clearly something happened. We don't know what it was, but clearly something happened that affected him. We don't know what it was yet, but we'll have to see. But overall, guys, amazing episode. In my opinion, I think the best episode we've had of Empire. It was intense. It was shocking. It had some great, great music, some really powerful scenes, and overall, just a great episode overall. I thought it was 10 times better than the premiere, even though I love the premiere. That's just my review. Hope you all enjoyed. Let me know what you guys thought of this episode, and I will see you guys in my next video, which will be my review for Heroes Reborn, and we'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.